This was the very first game I made in Unity. It was part of like a project on my course, and since then I've been making like a ton of short little indie games and uploading them onto the internet. Don't get me wrong, I'm really proud of them. However, I've always felt they could just be better than what they actually ended up being. So, in this video, I'm going to create a full proper indie game in which I will put on Steam. But before I started making games, I had like no idea on how to make one. Like, I had no idea where to start. All I had was just like some qualifications in art, so it was nothing too crazy. No, trust me, they were fucking terrible. But it wasn't until I played The Last of Us and Firewatch back in 2019 that really sparked my interest in game development. So in 2023, I started a course on games design, and there I learned like how to animate, how to model retro games, how to sculpt. Most importantly, it's where I discovered the Unity game engine. Now, what's really important to know is that Unity uses a program called C#. And in my opinion, it's a really good coding language to understand, especially if you're a first-time game dev or coder or whatever. Now, you can use other game engines such as Godot or Unreal Engine, but I found them to be a bit confusing and the interface, especially in Godot, to be pretty hard to understand, especially if you're a first-time game dev. By the way, this is not me saying which game engine I think is the better one. I'm just saying that I found Unity to be a lot easier to understand, so yeah. But on this course, I started to make some small games that, to be honest, took around 4 to 6 weeks to make, with most of these games being horror games. Everyone has fears, some more severe than others. Most importantly, I think they're really fun to make, and they can also have some really diverse subgenres like Little Nightmares, Nun Massacre, Silent Hill 2, and Five Nights at Freddy's. So after making these small games, I thought it would be fun to create a horror game that felt more premium than the other ones, with the end goal having it uploaded to Steam. I knew from the start that I wanted the world to be similar to Alien in terms of the retro-futuristic sort of feel. I also knew that I wanted the art style to be a lot like Buckshot Roulette by Mike Klubnika, with all like the heavy posterization, the heavy contrasts with the blacks, basically this really graphic novel-esque sort of like look to it. I also really wanted it to play out like Resident Evil 7, where you were stuck in this claustrophobic environment with very little like light source, and the player felt like there was this everlasting sense of dread happening. However, I didn't want it to take place inside of a house. Instead, I want the game to take place in an underground science research facility where it's like a heavy emphasis on industrial sort of assets, quite similarly actually to Mike Klubnika's game Carbon Steel, where the world is quite muted with a bunch of different industrial assets. So with all that in mind, what I ended up wanting to make from this was a 3D horror game set in an abandoned science facility, with gameplay similar to that of Resident Evil 7, the world that is quite retro-futuristic, and also with a posterized graphic novel-esque art style. I wanted to get the player movement sorted, so I started by getting a cube object and stretching it out to create a floor for the player, and then I dragged a capsule to act as the body of the player, so when all of that was done I was really ready to start the movement script. I looked onto the Unity asset store for the movement script because I'm genuinely terrible at coding, but I ended up using this one, which you can find in the description below. The script was really for a parkour game, so when I added it into the game, it had all the normal parkour features that I didn't need, like sliding, mantling, crouching. So with that in mind, I looked to ChatGPT to help me remove all the stuff I did not need and really just to save me time. So after I got that revised script from ChatGPT, I put it into the Unity game and it worked really well. The player could now like move in a much more realistic way, and it also felt really like immersive and responsive, which I was really happy with. So with all of that sorted, I thought it was wise to get started with the post-processing effects.
So as I said before, I wanted the art style to be really similar to Box Shot Roulette by Mike Club Nika. And after a while of scouring the internet, I found this shader pack on itch that had a really similar look to it. However, it didn't have a posterization filter, so I needed to add that. And once I added that and put it into the game, it worked really well. You can really see the separated levels of colour in the game, which was great. So once that was done, now all I needed to do was actually make the game. Well, the levels at least. Okay, so truth be told, I may have forgotten to press record my OBS. So there's no footage of me making the first room of the game. But here's the room I had made. Look how lovely and dirty and disgusting it looks. The assets I used for this were like a mix of my own assets from like projects on my course, but some are also made from the amazing Pizza Doggy with his PSX Mega Pack, which you can find on itch. I think it's like $10 or £7, I think. Yeah, I don't really know. But yeah, I was really happy with what I'd made in this first week, and I was really excited to get started on the rest. Okay, so yeah, I didn't really work on the game after that. I sort of took a trip, or actually I went on holiday across Europe for about 4 weeks, which was really good. But yeah, here's a photo of me in a mountaintop.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah, you know what, I'll just go on with the game now. Okay, so when I got back, I knew I wanted to create an interactive system. And to do that, I need to have a cursor for the player. So what I had in mind was that the player would have a dot, a very small dot in the screen that expanded when the player looked at an object. And I also added it so that specific objects that were interactable had a layout. You can see when the player goes up to an object, looks at it, cursor expands, and when it looks off, it goes back to normal. I also wanted to have a Resident Evil style of inspect system in my game, one that lets the player move the item around and can also interact with it. So with that in mind, I created a new script that worked with the cursor script, and with a magic touch from ChatGPT and also my coding friends telling me what to do, sorry guys, I was able to create the inspect system. Just look how glorious it looks. Now, the plan was that after this I'll show a really cool montage of me adding some other stuff to the game, specifically the particle effects. But when I was like organising my storage, I'm pretty certain I accidentally deleted all the edited footage of me making them. So really sorry about that, but I was also following a tutorial by the amazing Jimmy Vegas, who showed me like how to make the dust particles. I also followed a tutorial by Axa Nadim, I hope I'm saying that right. If not, I'm really sorry. But those two were really useful tutorials, and I really recommend them if you're trying to implement that into your game. So after I'd implemented those dust and smoke particles, this is what the game looked like. So the dust particles specifically were really small at first, so I thought if I could expand them, it would like cover the room, but it ended up not looking good as the particles were now really stretched. So instead I ended up copy and pasting them, I think about 6 or 7 times. Wait. But yeah, this is what the game was looking like at the moment. I was really proud, or I am really proud of the progress I've made. I'm actually really excited to show you what I have lined up next. But yeah, the game's able to be wishlisted on Steam, so if you'd like to play it when it comes out, I would really appreciate if you could click that wishlist button. Also, I have a community Discord where you can stay up to date with the game's progress and also be able to play the early access of the demo, which will come hopefully, fingers crossed, at the end of January. But yeah, thank you for watching. The next devlog will be up soon, pretty much when I have some free time and I'm able to edit the video. But yeah, I will see you soon.